Welcome to episode 8 of the Cooked Podcast. And today we're doing this one solo. We're doing a Q&A. Earlier I posted on my Snapchat and Instagram for you guys to ask me questions. We're going to start off on Snapchat and then we have some questions through Instagram as well. I appreciate everybody that did ask us questions or ask me questions. And basically this episode is going to be introducing me as a host because we actually haven't done that before, where it's like there's still a lot of people that have questions about me, and this is where we're gonna answer all your guys' questions. So first question, we have Julio. Shout out Julio, man. He's the homie. Give advice to people wanting to start their own business or any advice to entrepreneurs. If you have a passion for something, I would say that you can make a business out of it if you are willing to go through like trials and tribulations that come with that. So that meaning that if you are willing to go through a dry season where there won't be a lot of money made, you might actually be making more money than when you start out your business, or you might actually be more, I guess you could say, quote unquote, entertained with what you are doing right now, because it is a slow burn at first. When you start a business, it is very hard. It is not for everybody. So the biggest advice that I could give is, if you have a passion for something and if you want to go through the trials and tribulations, I would say, then go ahead and jump into it. You only live once. We are all pretty young. Like I would say, if you're younger than 50, you can start a business. It's not too late. Kike, what's your next project? Everything you do is golden. I appreciate you, Kike. What's your next project? My next project, well, right now I'm just really focused on opening the kitchen side at the Kennewick location. I feel like that's going to be a big hit. I'm excited to shoot content for that. We haven't really focused on our kitchen content or our ready to go food content, so I think it's going to be really fun. We got really good ideas that we're already planning, and yeah, that's my next project right now. But I think this year we will probably start looking at another location, hopefully. We have a question from Isaias. A random tip not many give when starting a business. Build a little bit of a savings account or a backup plan for your before you jump into the business, so you have some money to sit on in case things don't go as planned, basically. We have a question from Mark Anthony. Will you be adding a bakery type section in your store, like cinnamon rolls or cheesecake, stuff like that? I honestly don't think that we'll be adding a bakery to the store. I mean, the Kennewick location is already expanded like to the fullest, and then the Pasco one is too. Maybe for another location, but it would have to be like a huge one. So yeah, honestly, I don't think we will be focusing on that. But that is actually a pretty good idea. I know that kind of stuff actually sells a lot. We have a question from Aesthetic. Celebrity you'd love to have on the show. I don't know why the first person that comes to my mind always is Mike Tyson. Reason being is because he's had his own podcast. I don't know if he still does it, but I've watched his podcast. I think his career, what he did in boxing, is amazing. And I think he's just an overall great person. I think he's got a lot of advice to give, so I think I would want him on. Gray ass, best cut for carne apache. The best cut of carne for carne apache is cecina, or eye of round. The reason is because it has super low fat, and I don't know if you guys know what carne apache is, but basically it is meat that is raw and they cook it in lime. So it's like ceviche. So you don't want the meat to be too fatty. So I would use eye of round, or otherwise known as cecina in Spanish. That one would be really good. So we got Nasty Nate from Snapchat. Shout out Nasty Nate. He's actually a day one customer, man. Like I think, well, from what I can remember, he's one of our first customers. So that's why I'm saying his Snapchat name, because he knows who he is. He's a real one. He asked, "What is the hardest cut of meat for us to cut?" And that would probably be arrachera. That one is not hard because of the technique, but I think it's hard because it requires a little bit of speed in the amount that we actually sell. So in the summer, we're actually selling from like anywhere from like 1,000 pounds to like 1,500 pounds a week. So that actually does like end up taking a little bit of time, and not just anybody can move through that many amount of pounds. But the cut that's been the hardest for me to learn was the cecina, and that one, if you cut it like by hand, that one requires the most amount of technique. All right, so Tony asks, what advice would you give a younger entrepreneur thinking of getting into a business similar to yours? And her second question was, what's on the horizon for you or your business? For a younger entrepreneur, so I would say like younger entrepreneur meaning me, my age or younger. If they want to get into a business similar to mine, I would say the odds are honestly heavily against you. But for me, I believe in a God that is of the impossible. So um, you can do everything through Him, and that's the the reason that we have made it as a business as well, is because we believe in God, and the same God that gave you the vision, it's the same God that's going to give you the customers. Number two, what's on the horizon for you or your business? So our next goals, like I said before, the kitchen is our priority right now. We're probably gonna open that next week, and we want to start looking at another location this year. Chapa says, "What would you tell your younger self, knowing you'd be in the position you are today?" In the position that I'm at today, what would I tell my younger self? That's a good question. Um, I would say to not worry, not worry about. Um, I would say to not worry about how the business is doing. I would say to just keep showing up, keep doing your thing, because there's bigger things waiting for you on the other side. Mitchell said, "Do you sell half and quarter cows?" We can. We don't get full cows or half cows or quarter cows in. We get primals in. So we can transfer them over to you, but that's not really our main focus. How long does it take for the cow being processed to be in your store to being sold? That takes around 2 weeks. From the day that they kill the cow, it takes 2 weeks. They hang it. I'm sorry, they hang it up and they keep it for 2 weeks, because when they hang it, it's actually tenderizing. The more that they hang it for, the more it tenderizes. But also, if you hang it for too long, the meat's gonna go bad and nobody's gonna want to buy it. So they hang it up for about 7 to 14 days, and by the time it gets to us, it's max 2 weeks old. When's the restaurant grand opening? We don't have a grand opening plan, just because like we haven't even opened it. So right now we're just focused on opening it, getting the permits from the city. But I think next week we'll be open, and then we'll start planning for the grand opening. Adrian says, "I don't know if you answered this before, but what made you want to start selling meat slash become a butcher? Was this a goal in life or was it unplanned?" Basically, my father introduced me to the meat industry, and he was the one to put me to work at his carniceria. I started at 15 years old, And the plan was never to become a butcher. The plan was never to become a business owner. He always wanted us to pursue our own goals and dreams. He always supported us in everything that we envisioned for ourselves. He never pushed the business on us. And so one day he just goes up to me and he asks me, um, hey, like, I need a dishwasher, not a butcher, a dishwasher. And I said, yeah, like, I'm trying to make a little bit of money. I want to buy my own things. He also was like kind of pushing me to get a job basically, and he was like, just, just start right there, and if you don't like it, you can get another job, but I think it's a good idea for you to get a job. And so I was 15 and I started dishwashing right there. I wouldn't cut any meat, and then some of the butchers would see me get done with my work early, and they would basically start showing me how to cut meat. And I slowly started to learn how to cut meat, even though I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to wait until I was 18, and I ended up learning everything. Well, mostly everything before I was even 18. So I started to gain a little bit of love, but at the same time, the plan still was never to open up my own business or stay as a butcher or anything like that. So the reason that we got into the business was because I found out about Wagyu through social media, and that's kind of what sparked something else in me, a different kind of passion towards meat, was because I didn't know that there was that type of quality of meat, and I didn't see it anywhere in our area. So basically, when I tried it, I was like, I need more people to try this, and I'm going to be the one to introduce them to this type of quality of meat. And so that's the reason that we got into the business. Angel says, what's a skill or attribute you have that not so many people know about? I would say not that nobody knows about, but maybe people don't acknowledge as much or kind of point out, is that I think that I'm actually really good at selling meat. So I think like nobody would probably point out like, oh, Jose's like a good salesperson, but I think that I'm an exceptional salesperson. I think that it does require skill to sell good quality meat, Wagyu steaks, prime steaks. I think to be able to introduce that into I guess you could say a green area or an area that's never seen this type of quality, I think it's a difficult. Dragon says, what is the best meat out there and why? I would say meat, like in general, Wagyu. But if you're talking about like a cut, I would say a ribeye. Hector asks, what made you keep? Oh, by the way, we started the Instagram question, so we're done with the Snapchat. Now we're on Instagram. What made you keep following your dreams when others didn't believe in them? I think I came to a big realization that a lot of people are not going to be a part of your dreams. A lot of people are not going to be there for you to chase that. Like, that is a big solo journey for most people. So, like, when you're supposed to wake up for work and you're spending those long hours at your job or your business or whatever is your passion, a lot of those times, like, you're not going to be with anybody. They're not going to be encouraging you. So everybody has friends and everybody has family, but it is a big solo journey to grow yourself and to grow whatever it is that is important to you. So you have to realize that people's comments are sometimes a little bit insensitive to your dreams, and that's okay. I mean, we've all doubted people. We've all been in that position where we're like, oh, that guy probably can't do that, or that guy probably can't do this. But at the end of the day, like, comments shouldn't be taken personally. I think that if you're not with somebody day to day and you're not watching what they do, then you should never be somebody to tell somebody like you can't do something. Gus says, before starting your business, where did you used to work at? So, um, the first job that I ever had was actually in the fields, and I was actually 14. I had just turned 14, And my parents, I guess, probably wanted to give me a little bit of a lesson of what real life work is and um, what real life is in general and making your own money. And so they sent me to the fields with my cousins, and that was very tough work. And I realized that I did not want to do that at a very young age. So that was my first job. And then after that, well, my dad hired me, and I worked there until I was around 19. And then after that, I moved to Chini. A lot of people don't know, but I lived in Chini for almost a year. And right there, I was going to school for business administration, which I never finished. I ended up dropping out. But I went to, I worked as a dishwasher at a restaurant named Arturo's. And then I also worked at Napa in the warehouse in Spokane. And then I came back to Tri Cities. I almost forgot. I came back to Tri Cities and I worked at Lamb Weston. So I was working two jobs. I was working as a carnicero at Juanito's in Pasco, and then I was working at Lamb Weston. And after 2 months, I ended up quitting, and that's basically around the time where I like started doing social media for Juanito's, and I grew like a big, huge passion for cutting meat, selling meat, and social media. Chris says, "What was your personal key to success in having a successful outcome to your business?" I think a personal key to success for me was really spending a lot of time in figuring out social media, connecting with the right people, and focusing on social media a lot because I saw when we were small that there was a um, small changes in the business, but then when we started to grow, there was a lot of big changes within sales, within leads, within views, within everything. So then when we actually started to give it our all on social media and we blew up, that's when the business also blew up. So I think that was a personal key for me. It was to grow our social media. All right, Sabrina says, "Have you ever dined and dashed?" No, I have never done that. What's my favorite color? My favorite color is yellow. The homie Izzy says English or Spanish. All right. Duarte says, "How was your childhood like? Can you talk more on your background in life?" So, my childhood was a little bit lonely, I guess you could say, like very early on, um, because of the reason that my mom separated from my biological father when I was very young, before I could even, realize it. But I grew up with just my sister at a very young age until I was like probably 12. So it was just me and her, and we were just us two. And we didn't really have cousins or anyone in town. But when I was around 13 years old, we moved to Tri Cities, and my stepdad was already in the picture. We moved to Tri Cities, and the reason that we moved to Tri Cities was because of it used to be called Los Juanes. It's now called Juanitos in Pasco. Um, it was doing really good, but um, we wanted to move down here because we felt like it needed more attention, and obviously God ended up blessing us with a successful store, and we end up buying another one in Kennewick. But my upbringing was, honestly, I feel like I'm very fortunate. I think I had very good parents. I think I have a really good family. I'm very blessed. All right, so May asked, "What inspired you to be a young content creator? What was your drive? What made you keep going?" So what inspired me to be a content creator, which I never even thought that that was gonna be the outcome or the product of what I was doing was selling like quality meat and wagyu. So that's why we started doing videos, was to promote the product and the business. So that's why we got into social media and all that. Honestly, one of the biggest credits that I could give, or one of my biggest inspirations that actually made me start being in the videos, was actually Miguel Miranda. So shout out Miguel Miranda. I started watching his videos. I started following him on Instagram, and I didn't know him personally, but I saw that he was younger than me and he was putting himself in the videos, and he was doing different kinds of things back then. I'm talking about like 3 or 4 years ago. And I would see him and I would get inspired to just put myself in on camera and talk about the product and stuff like that. So that's kind of what inspired me. And then what was your drive? My drive was, I think when I had the biggest drive was when I opened up my own location in Kennewick on Clearwater. That's when I felt like the fire was really burning inside of me to grow as a person and as a content creator and then as a business owner. I think that was like my biggest reason for growing as a content creator. And also I think that's when I felt the most inspired to to get more clients and to get more customers, obviously. Johnny asked if he thinks that I have gotten a little bit too comfortable, or if I have gotten comfortable before. And I would honestly, if I'm being 100% transparent, I would say yes. When you see your business booming and you see that your vision has finally worked out, and by the way, your vision is never like, it's a never ending thing. Your business is a never ending thing. It's an everyday thing. Like every day you have to show up and try your best and handle complaints and show up for people that are working for you. And it's not always about you, but I think that I have gotten comfortable, but I think that there's things that we are working towards that you can't be comfortable. You know, you have to get out of your comfort zone, and I have gotten comfortable before, but I think I'm learning to keep reaching new heights, new goals, and that's what's keeping me on my toes right now. And also there's competition opening up too, so where were we at? What made you keep going? I would say like what really made me keep going was my family. My family has always been a very hardworking family. I've seen my parents work all their life. I mean, obviously since I've been alive, and they've always been very hardworking people, very what is the word? Resilient to everything. We have been through tough times. When I was a teenager, we did go through tough times where we didn't know if we were going to be able to continue with the business when they first moved here to Kennewick. So I've seen them go through tough times and be positive, and I've seen them do really good, and they still don't change their pace in the way that they work and the way that they see things. So that's really what has gotten me to the point where I'm at, is my parents. How do you balance ambition with humility and reliance on God? I would probably say it is hard sometimes, especially when you are at first touching success or first feeling success through social media and through the business. Like when you are seeing those numbers grow exponentially, I think it is hard to stay humble. It is for sure hard. It was hard for me to really realize and appreciate what was happening in that moment. because I had never gotten that amount of attention before from people coming in and saying like, "Hey, like I've seen you on the videos," and like, "Oh, you're the guy from the videos," and stuff like that. It is hard to stay humble. It is, if I'm being 100% transparent. But when you are somebody that was raised on going to church and being humble, and you have a very humble family and you come from humble beginnings, I think they're the ones that keep you grounded. And when you have friends that kind of remind you like, hey dude, like we've known you for years, like you're that same guy, like I think that helps you, you know. Your circle is always there to remind you of who you really are and where you really come from. In what ways do you see God working in your life right now? I think right now He has blessed me with a lot of things through the business and through connections and friendships and family, of course. But right now, I think He is really seeking a real relationship with me, and I think I am seeking a real relationship with Him as well, because God does want a relationship with us in terms of like getting close to Him and really being specific on what we want. And He knows all of our needs and He knows all of our wants, but He wants us to be specific with Him and ask Him, "Hey, guide us and what is the what is the real purpose of why this is happening, and why is my business growing, and why is it happening now as opposed to when you asked for it?" You know, like I think having God on your side and having Him as an actual friend and somebody that you talk to day, I think that's a very powerful thing, and I think that you can impact people through that and your faith in God, day to day by, you know, speaking through through your faith and what God is basically trying to teach you. So we're gonna go to our next question, and it's from Priscilla actually. What do you think makes a man strong, not just physically but mentally or emotionally? What makes a man strong is obviously like his perseverance and the way that he handles trials and tribulations. But also, I think the biggest thing that we as men have to recognize is that we do need God in our lives, and that is you have to have a certain level of humility to recognize that God is the one that provides for us, and His grace is the reason that we are alive today and what we have. So I think as a man, you have to be able to serve others as well. That being in your family and in your business. Your business is about serving others. What kind of what kind of service can you provide for others? So if you want to be successful, you have to realize that you are a servant for others, and it's not just all about you. So I think the what makes a man strong is his faith and his willingness to serve others, friends, family, customers. Gus asks, what are the unspoken, unseen struggles that come with owning your own business? I would say probably what has like the least amount of light on it is the fact that like there is a never ending feeling of like you can't feel like you made it. You can't ever feel like you made it because there's always something else that comes with that. So like let's say I hit my goal of what I wanted to hit in sales for 2024. You think in 2025 I'm not going to want to hit even bigger, or you know what I mean? So like it never ends. The grind really actually never stops. The customer never stops needing their intention, like their attention. The reason that you gain customers is because of your attention to detail and you being there and you looking out for your business and then being passionate about that, if you ever stop that, then you could possibly see the result of that as well. Gabriela says, "What is your podcast about?" That's actually a good question because we haven't really talked about like our vision and what we would want for this podcast to get to. But I think when I told Johnny and some other friends about where I wanted this podcast to go is I want it to be where we connect in the conversation, obviously, here with local people that are doing well and are well spoken, but also be able to branch out and be all over Washington and have people come to Tri Cities and talk to us and have a conversation with us, share a steak, and have like a conversation of value, and for people to be able to give their testimony and how they came to be where they're at today. And that's pretty much our goal for the podcast. Did you always know you wanted to be a butcher slash entrepreneur? Second question, where did you see yourself and your business going 10 years from now? So yeah, like I said earlier, I didn't see myself as a butcher or as an entrepreneur. I think since I can remember, I always wanted to be a cop. And in high school, I still wanted to be a cop. I actually went to Tri-Tech, and the program was called Law Enforcement. And I was in that up until then. Up until I graduated, I wanted to be a cop. But then after that, I was like, oh, I don't think that's gonna work out. I don't think that's gonna be where where I'm gonna go towards. But I always wanted to be a cop. I don't know why. I thought it was cool. And then where do I see my business going 10 years from now? I honestly think that in 10 years we'll probably have another at least 2 locations, and we want it to be like in different parts of Washington. I appreciate everyone that did send over their questions. I hope that this kind of gave you a good idea of who I am and our goals for the podcast and my goals for myself. I hope that this kind of added a little bit of value for the people that did ask the questions, and hopefully you take that and you use it into your own goals and your own lives. And I actually want to wish you guys a happy new year. I want to wish you guys the best in 2025. The final advice that I would probably give to you guys is actually try to walk with God throughout this year and try it out and see that He wants a relationship with you guys. Another thing that I would probably say is we want to become a podcast where people see us as like just regular people that came across being passionate about something and built a business off of that. So that's the real reason that we started the podcast, and that's what we're striving to be day to day. Let us know if you guys have any other ideas for us to do on the podcast. Any creators out there, any business owners that you guys want us to have on. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 8.